SCP-004. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. When handling items SCP-004-2 through 13, proper procedure is vital. The items are not permitted to be moved off-site unless accompanied by 2 Level 4 security personnel. Under no circumstances should any other component of SCP-004 be taken through SCP-004-1. The effects of doing so are as yet unknown, and the current cost of experimentation makes further research impractical. Should any of the objects contained with SCP-004-1 breach containment or the facility be breached, the keys must be brought inside the door closed prior to the activation of Site-62's on-site warheads. Unauthorized removal of keys from the testing area is grounds for immediate termination. Level 1 clearance is required for basic access to SCP-004-1. Level 4 clearance is required for the use of SCP-004-2 through 13. Description: SCP-004 consists of an old wooden barn door, SCP-004-1, and a set of 12 rusted steel keys, SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13. The door itself is the entrance to an abandoned factory and data expunged. Chronological history: 7/2/1949. A group of 3 juveniles trespassing on federal property near Redacted find the door. According to their testimony, they found a set of rusted keys and an iron lockbox and determined what door the keys unlock. The juveniles were taken into custody after they contact Sheriff Redacted when one of their friends, SCP-004-Case 01, goes missing. 07/3/1949. Local authorities find the severed right hand of SCP-004-Case 1. 8 kilometers from SCP-004-1. Other parts of SCP-004-Case 1's body are scattered as far as 32 kilometers from factory. Under interrogation, the apprehended individuals tell authorities that upon opening the door with one of the keys, SCP-004 Case 01 was torn into several pieces, each of which disappeared. At this point, the SCP Foundation takes over the investigation. 7/4/1949. SCP Agent Redacted obtains the keys from the local authorities to begin testing. Tests show that SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13 all fit into a single lock in the large barred door. 12 Class D personnel are assigned to test the effects of the door. Of the 12 test subjects, each trying a different key to enter the room, only to survive. Opening the door with any key except SCP-004-7 or SCP-004-12 caused the test subjects to be torn apart in multiple directions. However, no dismembered parts were found until later. At the time of writing, only 2 parts of each subject has been recovered, with the exception of the subject using SCP-004-Redacted, whose pieces were scattered in close proximity. They thus have, for all intents and purposes, vanished from existence. Of the 2 surviving objects, only one, having used SCP-004-7, returned unharmed. The other came back in a near catatonic state, able only to remove himself from the room and then collapse on the floor, and had to be restrained to prevent from gouging his own eyes out. See Appendix A, Mental Health Effects of SCP-004. The subject using SCP-004-7 said they had entered a large room, impossibly big for the size of the attached building. After his exit, SCP-004-1 was propped open and an armed squad of Level 3 personnel entered. The size of the room was impossible to measure, and the door frame and the individuals in the room are the only part of the room that felt or illuminated. 7/16/1949. The juvenile suspects and Sheriff Redacted are terminated. 8/2/1949. Redacted is declared a hazardous area due to unexploded ordnance, and fences erect to order to prevent civilian ingress. Tests to determine safety of exposure to environment behind SCP-004-1 begin. 12/1/1950. Space-time anomalies result from exposure to SCP-004 are confirmed. Testing is suspended until further notice. 7/2/19 Redacted. The unaccounted for remains of SCP-004-Case 1 appear unexpectedly outside of SCP-004-1. Despite being killed several decades before, the remains of SCP-004-Case 1 are not decomposed in any manner and are still warm to the touch. Blood remains uncoagulated. The remains are remanded for testing. 7/4/19 Redacted. The unaccounted for remains of one of the 12 original test subjects appear in similar manner of those of SCP-004 Case 1. Their remains have been designated SCP-004-Case 2. Records suggest that both SCP-004 Case 1 and Case 2 used SCP-004-Redacted. 3/21/1999. With the massive proliferation of nuclear weapons and World War III only redacted years away, construction was begun on a site inside SCP-004-1. The site is to stockpiles for redacted personnel days. 4/21/1999. Redacted has opened the site inside SCP-004-1 to be expanded to include emergency storage for all mobile SCP-redacted specimens and a redacted petabyte database in the storage of all SCP data. The facility is now referred to as Site 62. 9/25/2000. Site 62 is operational. Labs and containment units are complete and can contain the most dangerous specimens. Backup of the SCP database has begun. 1/25/2001. Due to time anomalies, see space-time anomalies below. All personnel working at Site 62 are now required to reside on site permanently. Families of the personnel are to be informed that loved ones perished in the industrial accident. Cloned bodies have been prepared for the funeral. 8/14/2003. Massive power outage across the northeast United States and through Canada due to the initial failure of multiple SCP generators. Site 62 is without power for 53 minutes. During those 53 minutes, those who were completely outside of any light source reported sensing creatures and people, although no abnormal entities could have been seen or felt. Selected facility personnel were allowed to read redacted Appendix A, said the creatures sensed were the humanoid size, but otherwise similar to the massive green creature described. Space-time anomalies. SCP-004 seems to propagate spatial anomalies. Personnel leaving the facility report losing time. Those who have been site for weeks insist that they have only been in the facility for several days, and records of work completed supplies consumed to support their claims. Other temporal anomalies involve SCP-004-2 through 13, especially the reappearance of SCP-004-Case 1 and Case 2, exactly redacted years after SCP-004 redacted. Redacted has been assigned to investigate all aspects of these time anomalies. Spatial anomalies include the impossibly large dimensions of the area opened by SCP-004-7. Similarly to the 2003 blackout incident suggests that there exists an alternate plane of existence within the same space that Site 62 occupies. Additional notes. Testing on SCP-004 reveals that 10 of the keys open SCP-004-2 on a dimension where the laws of physics and topology are significantly different than those of our home dimension. Tests suggest meeting these hostile conditions are torn apart, their body parts deposited in various locations, only 3 of which have been verified to be on Earth. Material deposited on 2 of these points appears immediately. Material deposited on the 3rd appears exactly redacted years in the future. The other 7 locations are currently unknown. Current testing focuses on 2 avenues of research. The first, finding ways to survive SCP-004's hostile topology. The second, data expunge, suggests that SCP-004-2 through 13 may open doors other than SCP-004-1. Appendix A. Mental health effects of SCP-004-12. All Class D personnel using SCP-004-12 returned in a catatonic state, unable to speak. Some may have enough energy left to claw their out of that. Of the 16 subjects, only 4 have survived. Only 1 has regained speech following long-term psychotherapy. He was able to tell the psychiatrist that he saw a massive green creature so large that much of its body extended beyond his field of view. He reported innate fear and sudden recognition, as if there was something buried deep in his primal fears, and forced implications of incoherent memories. Subject displays acute, anterograde, retrograde amnesia. Appendix B. Additional information. Item number SCP-004-14. Data discovery 9/2/1950. Origin of object. The object was discovered elsewhere in the factory area in the previously undiscovered manager's office. Description. Object appears as a large, unvarnished wooden box. The box may be unlocked by the safe key, SCP-004-7, as well as 5 of the unsafe keys. See document SCP-004-1. Upon unlocking SCP-004-14 with SCP-004-7, the box opens automatically on hinges. The volume of the space inside is precisely 5 times greater than the outer dimensionals imply. Items placed within the lid remains open do not affect the weight or any other properties of the box. When the lid is closed and locked, however, all items inside vanish irretraceable. Personnel locked inside the box are also irretraceable, although losing personnel in this fashion appears to affect significantly the dreams experienced by data expunged.